Letting go of self-criticism and releasing the judgmental and negative belief is an important part of living a wholehearted life. Then we can realize our true potential. To do so, we must embrace self-compassion and learn how to use self-critical thoughts wisely. Self-critical thoughts, which we all can have, include saying things like, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, I will never get better, I will fail anyway, I'm just gonna give up. It's not worth trying. Internalized self-criticism is how we analyze ourselves and our situation. It's important to know our limits and our potential. However, when we only use self-criticism, it becomes a pattern of negativity and failed dreams. I like to discuss actionable tools to help you focus on specific thinking and behavioral patterns that you can use to realize your dreams. Let's dive in. Hello, I'd like to welcome every self-healer who wants to understand how self-compassion and self-criticism can work together to motivate you. We all have a self-critical thoughts, right? And the limited amount of these negative thoughts can be healthy. It's about balance, having a right amount of positive thoughts and the not right amount of negative thoughts. This way, we can help point out what's wrong and what needs to be changed. But too much of self-criticism can be deterrent to your personal growth. With too much self-judgment and self-criticism, we become more aware of our limitations instead of how we can achieve our goals. The question is how to switch from self-criticism and self-compassion. First, let's take a look at some definitions. The Clinical Psychology Review Manual, the definition of self-criticism involves constant and harsh self-scrutiny, overly critical evaluations of one's own behavior, and negative reactions to perceived failures in terms of self-bashing. According to positivepsychology.com, the definition of self-compassion involves the capacity to comfort and soothe ourselves and to motivate ourselves with encouragement when we suffer, fail, or feel inadequate. So it's important to find that balance between the self-criticism and self-compassion. One mistaken belief of self-compassion is that it will cause us to be lazy and unmotivated. We might think, if I'm too soft on myself, I won't accomplish anything. Instead, I need to motivate myself being tough and saying harsh things to myself. It's like the image of the army surgeon motivate his soldiers. It's saying very harsh and tough things. Because it's a one way to feel motivated, but that's not the only way. We also hold this belief when we are raised by a certain parenting style, because sometimes we're so used to that discipline and harsh criticism. This is a fear-based system and sometimes doesn't work well in the long run. Self-compassion, on the other hand, comes from a place of love and care. Research has shown that using self-compassion as a motivational tool increases the self-confidence and decrease the fear of failure and creates resilience. Self-criticism still plays a role here. It's important to understand that it's got good intentions. Why? Because at some level, our inner critic is trying to force some changes so we can feel safe. For example, why do we beat ourselves for not going to the gym? Because we're afraid that our body won't stay healthy. We'll be at risk of ailments like heart disease or diabetes. By understanding this concept, we can accept our own critic as a sort of an important tool for our well-being. But we can also bring compassion and kindness to this voice. So it's not so harsh, it's not unforgiving. So what it's like to show care to ourselves so that we can take care of our well-being. Let's talk about an exercise that will help you find a compassionate voice. So grab a pen and paper, and as we discuss this exercise, feel free to pause the video and to write and to process. Or you can just jot down the instructions and do this exercise on your own time. First, write down a behavior that you like to change, something that you often beat yourself about. So make sure that it's changeable and feasible, because we don't want to choose something too hard. So let's build a tolerance with this. Then write down some words or images that you typically say to yourself when you engage in this behavior. For example, one behavior that I like to change is looking at my phone when I wake up. I notice that I have a tendency to just immediately go to my phone, when I wake up in the morning. The words that I say to myself is, "You're lazy, why are you doing this again?" Then let's take a moment to become aware of how your body feels when you write it down, these words, and think about the image. And be compassionate with yourself as you reflect on how these words or image make you feel. If it hurts, it's okay to acknowledge it, because there's no right or wrong feelings or thoughts or sensation in the body you can experience. So let's take a moment to notice that. Next step is, let's take a moment to go to your inner critic. Write it down what you think motivate your inner critic. Is your inner critic trying to protect you from keeping you safe from danger? Or is your inner critic trying to say a message or trying to motivate you? So write it down without any judgment. Let's simply notice the purpose of this inner critic. Now that you acknowledge your inner critic, trying to make some space for your inner compassion voice. This voice carries a lot of wisdom and grace. It recognizes how your judgmental thoughts are causing you harm, but it wants to have a compassion for yourself. So we do this with the body. Find a comfortable place to rest. Get into your comfortable position. Take a few deep breaths here and rub your hands together. Feel the warmth and place them over your heart and reflect from your heart the behavior that you're struggling with. Begin to repeat phrases that capture the meaning of your inner compassionate voice. For example, you can say, "I deeply care about you. Now, I don't want you to suffer." Or you can say, "You can do this. I'm here for you. You're good enough. And I accept you for who you are, no matter what." So find a phrase that is authentic to you. So take a moment to find that phrase and say that to yourself. When you're ready, when it's enough, come back to the present moment. Come back to your space. Well done. It's interesting to realize our own inner critic and compassionate self have the same intention, but in a different way, different approach. We want to be intuitive of what kind of voice and tone we use to motivate ourselves. And our self-critical voice and compassionate voice get fire and wire with different sensation in the body and different thoughts in the brain. The next time you find yourself using critical voice, trying to notice how self-criticism fire and wires with different sensation and behaviors. Of course, when we use compassionate words towards ourselves, we want to notice how they affect the bodily sensation and the behaviors. It's almost impossible to completely get rid of self-criticism. It's there for a reason. So it's about becoming aware so we can explore and challenge self-criticism and find good intentions with that. Doing this can help turn that self-criticism to self-motivation and self-compassion. I hope you find our time helpful and take good care of yourself and do your healing every day.